www.broadcastnetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
You're listening to America's Web Radio. And now time for the Classic Car Show with Steve Rinaldo and Jim Weber.
Good morning and welcome to America's Web Radio and the Classic Car Show.
Santa Claus coming to your house?
Yeah, he'll be here.
I talked to some of the girls up there, and I think Steve is giving everybody a Steve Moskowitz doll for Christmas.
Oh, a bobblehead?
Yeah, the bobblehead. No, it's or the cuddly one. It depends. He'll decide.
Yeah, that's what everybody needs.
Yeah, a cuddly Mr. Moskowitz, which we all know happens all the time.
Oh, definitely.
Hey, Chris, before we get into stuff, I want to congratulate you and the whole staff in Hershey about the acquisition of the Philadelphia Public Library automotive stuff.
Thank you. It's big news, and I guess we're going to be chatting about that a little bit later. Yeah.
Quite a coup for AACA, and I know you guys have all put a lot of time and effort into that. And I wrote a response to. Very seldom do I post on the AACA General Discussion Forum.
Yeah.
But I did on this one because I honestly and firmly believe that what you guys do in the library is the single most important aspect of AACA, because without you guys continuing to increase the size, maintain and make this stuff available to the public is just amazing. How could people like myself who do a lot of our own stuff, without you guys supporting and making this information available, how could we restore and maintain and enjoy all these cars that we have? I do think what you guys do is the most important aspect, and I wish some of the other clubs would make their stuff available, because Horseless Carriage, you can't get anything out of those guys. It's almost impossible. And some of the other clubs, it's just hard to get at. And I think what you guys do is just amazing for the hobby.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're very proud of the fact that we're open. The library's automotive reference collection, in a partnership with the Simeon Museum, just gets more information at our fingertips and makes our job easier when we help people restore cars or maintain them, or if they're just curious about them.
Yeah, I think so. And I reading the posts, I understand that you and Fred Simeon, the AAC Museum, and Fred Simeon have sort of come to a working agreement.
You guys still there? I can't hear you now.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. He went over. But anyway, can you hear me at all? Hello.
Chris, I'm not sure what I got when I reached over to move the camera around.
Hello.
Yeah, okay, you're there.
I can't hear. You can't.
You can't. Chris, can you hear us?
No.
Well, let me call him back.
Seems our connection is lost.
I think so.
That. Okay. Chris, can you hear me?
Oh, I got you now, David.
Okay.
All right. Are you okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I just all of a sudden.
Yeah. Okay. Well, explain the relationship that you guys are going to have between Simeon and the AACA library. There was 2-3 different things in there, and I'm not sure which one is quite right.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Fred, as you know, is very, very interested in racing material. So there's a large portion of the Philadelphia Public Library collection that pertains to racing, and that naturally belongs with Dr. Simeon. So he's going to have that material. We're going to focus a lot on early owner's manuals, shop manuals, some early sales literature as well. But the great part of this is that the AACA library and the Simeon have formed a partnership where we'll exchange information back and forth, whether it's digital scans. Suppose somebody shows up in Hershey and they need something immediately. I can contact the Simeon library. They'll scan something over. We could always FedEx things overnight. And fortunately, since we're so close, we're only about 2 hours or less from the Simeon. We could, in theory, drive something to either organization within the same day. So it really makes Pennsylvania the real heart of automotive research.
That's wonderful. I never knew until this that he had his own library. I never did. Because I've been there several times, and when I was on the board, we had meals and gatherings there, and I just never knew there was even a library connected.
Oh, it's a phenomenal library. And the Philadelphia collection was actually started in 1948 and became the property of the library in 49. And around that time, Dr. Fred, who was a young man, served as Thomas McKean's, liaison or little intern. And Tom sent young Fred Simeon out throughout Philadelphia to different automobile dealerships with a letter that said, he is part of us. Please provide him with a single or double copy of everything that you have. So
Little Fred.
Dr. Simeon's been part of the automotive library world for decades.
Yeah, I never knew that. Next time he calls in, I'll have to get him to talk a little bit about his collection. So actually, where does this put, if his collection, Dr. Simeon's collection is sort of part of AACA, where does that rank AACA library as far as, I think you now are the #1 in the United States, right, as far as total?
Yeah, we call ourselves America's Automotive Library, and we truly believe we are because we have over 3 million items in our collection, ranging from sales literature, photographs, manuals, to wiring diagrams, paint chips, magazines, and the fact that we're open and free to the general public. You don't have to be an AACA member to use us. Our accessibility makes it even better for any kind of automotive historian, researcher, or just general enthusiast.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like I said, I firmly believe that you guys are the most important part of this hobby, the information, because, I take my 1909 Maxwell, there's nothing available for that car. I mean, the shop manual was in the owner's handbook, and it had wonderful information like valve adjustment specification is adequate.
That's
Adequate. Yeah, plus or minus an ad or two, and then
It works.
yeah, and then the funny part is that if it's not adequate, find a competent blacksmith and have them either shrink or stretch the valve till you get the adequate clearance. Oh yeah, I mean we have competent blacksmiths all over here now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're out putting shoes on horses.
I know, it's amazing. But that and other guys like Dykes and Glenn's, those guys from way back, way back, have information on that stuff.
By the way, Chris, did you agree with the statement that Steve just made about you all being the most important part? Because I think there's a guy named Moskowitz that might take exception to that.
I don't think so. I'll bet he
I
wouldn't.
don't think he would take exception to that.
I don't think he would at all.
On
I
that
think
point, Steve and Steve are right on the same page.
yeah.
That you're the most important.
They are, and the guy who I can't remember who it was that did the national awards meeting. One of your guys did a great job for us at the national awards meeting.
Yeah, Mike Riley, he's our cataloger, and then we also have Matt Hawker. He's our jack of all trades here. We work good as a team, and we're very proud of what we do.
Yeah.
Here.
Who's the Lego guy?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The Lego guy, the guy that put together those neat kits of the library truck.
Jim, I'm sorry, but I just can't hear you.
That's the guy that put together the Lego truck.
Oh, that was Matt Hawker. He's the Lego maniac here.
Oh.
That's a new term.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lego maniac.
Yeah, I'm a Lego maniac. Oh my God! No! Run away!
Is he loose in Hershey?
Actually, now he's in Maryland. He's coming south, so look out.
Is he?
Yeah.
Chris, the Philadelphia Library, that you're part of it. What are we talking about? how much are we talking?
Yeah,
A semi-full or a stake
I
bed
think it
truck?
would be multiple semis full.
You're kidding.
The collection is officially listed as exceeding 100,000 items.
Wow.
Some of the items are paper thin. Other items are as thick as a major shop manual. So we'll definitely need a couple semis. It won't be a fun task when we have to go into downtown Philadelphia to extract it. Maybe we'll go at night when traffic is lighter.
Chris, how much duplication have you all found, or is there?
Well, there's certainly going to be duplication, and the agreement that we established with Fred, Dr. Fred, is that if he already has something in his collection, well, then he offers it to us. That would be specific to the racing material, and vice versa. We want to find the best home for it. And as far as duplicates here at the library, we always keep and maintain the best copy. So we'll certainly be going through everything that we have, even if we know it's a duplicate, and making sure that what rests here on the shelves of AACA is the best and cleanest copy.
Beautiful. Now, the other thing, your surplus, yours and Fred's surplus, after we get back from a break, I'm just curious as to, are you going to sell it? Are you going to offer it to the members? Are you going to do it at Hershey? But
okay.
Think about that, and we're going to take a break right now.
Great.
45 years of experience is behind the most trusted name in auto transportation. Passport Transport, the first and finest today. That's why Passport Transport is the preferred auto transport for major auto manufacturers, concours, museums, tours, and collectors, and should be your choice from across the state to across the country. When you have the need, go to PassportTransport.com and enjoy the peace of mind referenced experience will give you. Passport Transport.
Whether cruising the strip in a 57 Chevy or taking the family on a vacation in a 71 Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser, you need to tune in to Classic Cars with Steve Rinaldo and Jim Weber every Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. on americaswebradio.com.
Hi, this is Steve Rinaldo, host of the Classic Car Show on America's Web Radio. Just talking to you about antique car insurance. I think that if you're looking for the best coverage for your classic car, consider J.C. Taylor Insurance. They've been my insurer for years in this hobby and have the top rating of all of the insurance companies in the hobby. When you get ready for insurance, call J.C. Taylor or visit jctaylor.com on the internet.
This is America's Web Radio. Would you like to have a show, talk about your business, or express your opinion on America's Web Radio? Just email gm@americaswebradio.com and we'll get back to you. Thank you. And welcome back to the Classic Car Show on America's Web Radio. And we've got Mr. Chris Ritter, the head librarian at the AACA Library in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And we're delighted to have him on. It was hard to, he is a busy person and about to get a lot busier.
Yes.
And by the way, Jim and Steve both, while we were off the air, volunteered to come up and help you with those 2 trucks.
Good. Which one's going to drive? I hope it's not Steve.
And
no, you know what he was doing at the break? He was winding his Mickey Mouse watch. Now, it is not a regular Timex. It is a Longines Mickey Mouse watch.
Wow. It's a
Nothing but the
Citizen.
best for him.
It was a Citizen? Oh, I thought maybe it was a Longines.
Yeah.
or short jeans.
Yeah, short sheets. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, you've got this beautiful opportunity, and we know there's going to be some duplicates. And I know there's guys out there, whether it be anyone from the Nethercutt Museum to the museum at Watkins Glen, that may want some of the duplicates. So how are you going to handle, are you going to do a special sale or bulletin or something on them?
Yes, absolutely. We're going to do a special sale. Typically, as we've talked about before, we would have it was just a yard sale or tent sale
right
on site during fall meet. And there'd be maybe maybe 100 people would show up for that. Well, the amount of material that we're going to see duplicated through this collection is going to be just massive and much more significant. So we're eventually, might be 2-3 years down the road, we're going to hold a major literature auction, something that will be a large event. We don't know the exact time of year when we would do it, but it would certainly make sense if we did it during fall meet.
Oh, sure.
When, the maximum amount of audience is here in Hershey.
Yeah. Wow.
Chris, I'm just sitting here because it just sounds totally massive, and I wouldn't even want to think about having to organize it. How long do you all plan on taking, or how long do you think it'll take to catalog all of this? And then also, will you go back in and in Steve's day, it was called microfiche. Today, it's called computer, I think. But how long will all of that take?
Well, I think it's safe to say that I'll have enough work to do the rest of my career.
You can apply for Social Security at 62.
We never put a timetable on things when we acquire a major collection like this. The timetable will probably take possession of the material some part in the later half of 2020, if not early 2021. And at that time, we'll be in our new facility, and we'll be able to get it right on the shelf. We don't want to have a situation where we take it from Philadelphia, store it in a warehouse, and then have to move it 2 times.
Yes.
But once we get it in here, we'll be processing it immediately. We'll have a strong core of volunteers and staff to help us out with that. And as we process it, we'll get it on the shelf and into the computer catalog. What gets digitized, that will be determined by either the condition of the material, if it's very fragile and potentially damaged by physical handling, we'll digitize it. Otherwise, it'll be requests as people request information. If somebody's asking for the 1909 Maxwell file, well, we'll get that digitized first.
Well, let me ask too, do you have someone, will you do some restoration on the publications or on the books themselves?
We're able to do some very, very basic restoration. We haven't typically sent things out. There's been a couple situations where we've gone to special restoration services, but that's tremendously expensive. So what we try to do is do as much as we can in-house.
Now, I understand that this is probably going to be fairly costly, and I understand that Steve Rinaldo and Steve Moskowitz are just taking it out of their back pockets.
Yeah, I'm going to send you a couple moths.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We need all the malts we can get.
Yeah. Steve has his own bank. It's called the National Bank of the Right Hip.
Yeah. I wish. But anyway, the digitizing process and making it available, how right now, without not even thinking about the new stuff, what percentage of the whole AACA library collection is now available on
maybe 2%?
That's all?
It's a tiny portion of the collection. However, size-wise, we're talking, we've digitized maybe 3 terabytes of information. To put that in perspective, it's probably 1 million pages, somewhere around there.
Really? And how do you access that? How would I find out what's in there, and how would I access that?
Well, right now, our online catalog, which is where you'd search to see a title or a description, that's just at aacalibrarycatalog.org. Now, if you go into a holding and it says that it's digitized, then you can contact us, and then we'll send you a link. Those digital files are all stored remotely in the cloud, so we would send you a link to gain access to it. At this time, we don't have a website where you can go and, say, download or look at a PDF brochure or manual. It's a cost issue as far as finding a reasonable solution to host it and to provide protection so that all of our material can't be pirated and hijacked.
Is this information, just what you just told me, is that available? Like, I go to aaca.org. Is there a place somewhere on there that if I were looking under library telling me how to do this?
Yeah, if you just go to aacalibrary.org, and then there's a link up top for research. It'll explain our whole research services and the process as to which to gain access to research. There's also a research request form that you can fill out information, and that goes right to my email. And we work on a first come, first serve basis. It doesn't matter if you're a
Steve
celebrity
Rinaldo or
or
not?
somebody that never even heard of AACA. We just put you in line, and we work on your request as hard as the next guy. So we're very proud that we provide service.
That's good. I would like a list of competent blacksmiths, please.
Okay, I can provide that to you very quickly.
Yeah, sure. But from the main AACA.org, is there a place to direct link to the AACA library.org? Is it readily noticeable?
Yeah, when you go to AACA.org, the top toolbar, there's a header right up top, and we have a search box all the way up at the top right-hand corner, and just below that, you'll see a link that says library. Click on that, and it'll take you right to our website.
Okay. Yeah, because I know a lot of people don't know that this is available and how to do it. They just don't know.
Right.
Chris, I know, or I believe I know that your degree's in library or whatever the title is what we're talking about. To me, is just massive. I just, it boggles my mind on what you're doing. Would you have the same thing in a public library that you're facing with Fred's collection and what you already have?
In the public library world, there's consortiums, say on a county level, where they'll share information through interlibrary loan. They'll actually, some counties have like van delivery. They'll go to each library within that system. But as far as acquiring major collections in the public library world, that doesn't generally happen too often.
Yeah, the state of New York has got a great interlibrary system where if one library doesn't have a book and one of the bigger ones does, you get the book in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Shifting gears for a minute, just a question. Walter Miller had a huge collection, and he recently passed away. Do you have any idea what's going to happen with all of his material?
I don't know what's going to happen with that. I was actually surprised to hear that he passed away. I knew that he was ill for quite some time.
Yes, yeah.
But when that news hit us, I was certainly surprised. And I think it was around fall meet, so people were asking me that same question, and I have not heard anything, so I can't provide any insight to that.
Okay, I was just curious because I know you keep your finger on a pulse of a lot of this stuff because of the fact of, you need as much material as possible to handle the members.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do you have a working relationship with some of the European automotive libraries? I've always had sports cars, mostly British. Do you have a working relationship with British Heritage Motor Trust, where they have all their stuff?
We do not. But in the case of foreign material that we don't have, we would always refer them to the Simeon Library. You brought that up, and people can be aware that he has a lot of foreign material.
Good.
There are a lot of people in the UK that will hear that information, and that we're the number one car show in the UK now.
Oh, great.
So that will be, as we archive this show, they'll be hearing about what's happening with you all.
Yeah. Overseas members, I'm not sure what kind of numbers the AACA has. I know you've got overseas chapters and regions, but do you have any idea, Chris?
Oh, I personally do not. Steve Moskowitz, our CEO of the club, he would be able to answer that very, very quickly. It's quite a lot.
Yeah.
It's always fun during fall meet when many of our members come into town, and we get people from Europe, Scandinavia, Africa, South America. I mean, every continent is represented, so it's pretty cool to see how far AACA's reach really extends.
Well, I think Henry Ford had a plant in every continent too,
Probably,
building T's and A's.
at least one.
Yeah, yeah. Your collection is not only American cars, it's foreign cars. What's kind of the ratio? Are you seeing more and more foreign material come in?
The ratio is probably, or percentage-wise, is probably 85% American, and then the rest, 15%, would be foreign material.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing a whole lot of foreign material come in through donations. What I am seeing would be 80s, 90s, that type of era. But the real early stuff, I'm not seeing that come through via donation right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was working, remember I used to give you guys a set of shop manuals every year.
Yeah.
For stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny you're talking about this. This just came up last night. We had a our local Model A club had their Christmas party last night, and I was talking to one of the guys, and another guy came over and said, "Look, I have all of these books, car books, in a collection, and I'm gonna get rid of them." And he said, "I hear you talking about the AACA library, and if I want to do that, give them all, put them in a box and give them all." And this guy has a substantial collection of stuff. How would somebody go about giving you their old literature that's been in the basement and in the garage forever, that they owned the Flying Flivver in 1940 and have all the manuals? How would you do that?
It's pretty simple. You just drop it off either by the mail, UPS, FedEx, or if you're able to drive it up here. Like I said, we're open 6 days a week. The only thing that we do not accept are magazines newer than 1950. We just have so many new magazines that we don't have the storage space to house duplicates.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody was interested in giving you a bunch of literature, the library, or I don't know how it works with you being part of AACA now, but this is 501c3. Will you give them a tax write-off?
Oh, definitely. We send an acknowledgement letter, which serves as a receipt. Now, that letter is generic, so it'll say, "Thank you for donating 20 books and 2 owner's handbooks." We cannot legally assess a value to it. That would be up to you or an appraiser to throw a value on it.
Really? How come you guys can't say?
I believe it was just an IRS rule. It's
okay.
A conflict
all right.
of interest,
I know, because I bring
somebody a high appraisal.
Yeah, Brenda and I read a lot, and we get these books, and we have a stack, and I bring them over to the library, and they just they give me a form, and they tell me what they think it's about worth.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
This may sound like a really out of left field question, but when you get particularly a person sending you a stack, do you all have some kind of fumigation or something, because you don't know exactly the control those books have been in, and they can be carrying bugs or anything else?
Sure. We don't. There was only one situation where we received a major collection that had any kind of mold or infestation. In that situation, we quarantined everything, saved what we could, and unfortunately had to throw away quite a bit of material. But kind of like you referenced, we don't want mold spreading throughout the collection. Or bugs. Gosh, that would just be
horrible.
Yeah.
Moskowitz tries to quarantine me at Hershey every year, but so far he hasn't been able to do it.
Well, there's no spray that'll take care of you yet,
electric
Steve.
wheels, you kind of move pretty quickly.
Well, I understand Moskowitz going to put in a dunking tank just for Steve.
Yeah, looking for volunteers. Steve will be first
in line. Yeah. Anyway, I just think this is just super of what you guys are doing now, being And I think it's cool that you can advertise at the AACA library now as the #1 automotive library in the United States. I think that's even that'll put a lot of powder on your donut.
Well, while he's doing that, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back, Chris.
Okay.
45 years of experience is behind the most trusted name in auto transportation. Passport Transport, the first and finest today. That's why Passport Transport is the preferred auto transport for major auto manufacturers, concours, museums, tours, and collectors, and should be your choice from across the state to across the country. When you have the need, go to PassportTransport.com and enjoy the peace of mind referenced experience will give you. Passport Transport.
Hi, my name is Steve Rinaldo, host of the Classic Car Show on America's Web Radio, talking to you about antique car insurance. In this hobby that I've been part of for years, not all insurance companies and insurance coverage is the same. I would suggest that you call J.C. Taylor or visit jctaylor.com to find out some information about some of the best antique car insurance you can get, such as agreed value insurance for your classic car. Again, when you get ready to insure your classic, antique, or even your street rod, call J.C. Taylor Insurance or visit jctaylor.com.
My name is Kyle Hayes, a motorsports student at Alfred State College. Every year, Alfred State students compete in the Great Race, which is a cross-country time endurance rally for vintage vehicles. As you can imagine, it's pretty costly. I'm asking for your help. Your donation can make it possible for these students to live their passion and promote the vintage automobile industry. Please visit our site at give.alfredstate.edu and search Great Race to learn more and help us reach our goal. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mike Mizell. I'm a retired Army colonel and president of the Johns Creek Veterans Association. We meet in Newtown Park, and part of one of our projects is the installation of the Healing Wall, the half-scale model of the Vietnam Wall that traveled the United States. Well, it's coming to rest, and it's going to live in Johns Creek forever, the half-scale model. We're looking at possibly a March implementation ribbon cutting ceremony, and we're looking for donors and sponsors that want to help us in this great project. You can donate at jcvets.org.
This is America's Web Radio. Would you like to have a show, talk about your business, or express your opinion on America's Web Radio? Just email gm@americaswebradio.com and we'll get back to you. Thank you. And welcome back to the Classic Car Show, only on America's Web Radio. And we've got the man from the most important cog in the wheel at AACA, Mr. Chris Ritter on. And he is the head librarian. He has the big 12-foot whip that keeps everybody in line. And that's because his name is Ritter, as in Tex.
Chris, it's been...
I didn't know you were related to Tex Ritter. I've never seen you in a cowboy hat and a pearl button shirt.
That's what I'm wearing right now.
Oh, I would have. I don't even know where you are then. Hey, just libraryman, how's your restoration coming on that Buick you were doing?
Oh, it's I have a 37 Buick Business Coupe. That's back on the road after, 7 years or so. And then this spring, I actually bought a 37 Oldsmobile because my family was growing. Now there's my wife and 2 boys. We couldn't all fit in the Business Coupe without somebody staying back. So we got the 4-door touring sedan and 2 1937 vehicles.
Wow.
Does your wife ever say, Chris, how about a new car?
I've been trying to get her to buy a new car for years, and she just loves her 2005 Prius of all cars.
Hey, that's a good car.
Yeah, we just had a police story here. The guy robbed somebody and took off in a Prius, and they said the cops were laughing so hard they couldn't believe it. They caught him halfway down the first block.
Yeah, it would be my getaway vehicle.
Yeah.
Going back to reality for a minute, how many car clubs, libraries do you now house? Because there's a group of car clubs that are over the AACA umbrella, correct?
Correct. Well,
Yeah.
they house their collection here. There still remain independent clubs, of course, and they still retain ownership of the material that they house here in the library. There's 12 special collections here in the library.
Wow.
One of those is Vintage Chevy Club of America, and I've just had some chats with their leadership this past week, and they're going to make a significant investment in their collections here. A couple years ago, we got some material from a gentleman with the last name of Hensel, and the other one was Overby, and Overby had a lot of multimedia, so a lot of film strips and 16 millimeter films, even 35 millimeter films. The Hensel material is a lot of pre-war car literature, and then he also had a lot of truck material as well, which certainly filled out a lot of holes in their collection for sure. But it hasn't been accessible because it has been just sitting on the shelf, and they've just made the decision to invest the appropriate amount of money to get it into proper archival storage and to get it into our card catalog as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of things and shelves and stuff, how's the building coming?
It's progressing. With any construction process, I guess it's like a car restoration. It's never going to happen fast enough. We expect to be in the new building sometime this summer. They've already done basic preliminary demolition on the existing structure, so that all of the first floor and all of the second floor are completely bare right now. We're just waiting for a couple more permits to come through, and then proper construction can begin.
Good. And how much of the building is going to be dedicated to the library?
The whole second floor.
Wow.
So the library's footprint is going to about triple in size, and we're going to have we have movable stacks. If you've never been to the library, imagine these very long bookshelves with cranks on the end, and when you turn the cranks, the whole bookshelf moves. So we're going to have a whole dedicated area in the back of our floor that will house the high density mobile storage. We're going to have an interactive classroom where we'll be able to host whether a car club wants to come in or we just want to do a public program on our own. We'll have a full media studio and a digitization room, and then the public area. Right now we can only accommodate, I think we have 4 or 5 tables. Well, that's gonna at least triple in size as well. So the whole facility is just going to be just kind of explode in not only size, but the way that we're going to be able to use it and get information to all of our users.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know if you have a suggestion or not, but you're talking about if you come into the library, you can use a crank and it'll shift everything. If that's true, then I wouldn't let Rinaldo in. He would be playing with that. I can see him. Can't you, Jim? Seeing Steve going in. Watch this! I can move the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, yes, you can ask Mr. Moskowitz. I made a significant donation. There's the men's room in the existing one is 1 stall, and they 3. So I donated all 3 of the handles for the toilets. They're gold plated, though. They're pretty nice.
Yeah, fortunately, the mobile shelving units are staff access only, so we don't have to worry about the public getting session there.
Smart thinking.
Yeah. I can only say this because of the 50s and the late 40s, but there were product training films that came out from all the manufacturers to hold dealers to hold sales meetings and stuff like that. Do you have a lot of product training films?
We have hundreds of product training films.
Really?
Good.
I mentioned the Vintage Chevy Club earlier. They have, I think 300 films and maybe close to 2,000 film strips.
Yeah.
And we're going to eventually digitize those. The AACA library houses many Jam Handy films, some of which we've digitized, and they're on our YouTube channel right now. You can watch them for free. But yeah, absolutely, we have lots of those training films, and now thanks to digitization, we can share those a whole lot more easily.
See, I never knew that. I think one of the things that you guys ought to figure out and get it on the website is to let people know what's available. I never knew you had that kind of stuff in all these years. I never knew there was a thing.
Maybe you could do an article in the magazine and just list the stuff that's available
and how to find it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of a never-ending battle that we have to wage, is to get the information about the library out there. And it's amazing how many of our own AACA members aren't aware of what exactly is available.
I'm pretty involved in AACA.
Yeah.
And I never knew this kind of stuff. Nobody talks about it.
Well, we're talking about it now, and we appreciate the fact that you guys give us a voice here. And yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's something that we have to keep working on and keep spreading the word.
Well, and if you go back and you take these orphan makes like Willys and Kaiser Fraser and Packard,
Durant, any of these weird.
Well,
things,
but I'm talking really kind of post-war. Because I don't think with Durant in production they had training films, but I know post-war most of the car manufacturers offered training films, either sales training films or, from your area, the service training films.
Yeah, of some kind. Anyway.
Yeah, and those are the kinds of things. And maybe you list the orphan, and I don't mean that in a derogatory manner, but the makes that are no longer in existence.
Yeah, they were really good because the mechanics all wore white shirts and leather bow ties.
Yes.
They're perfect, like every other mechanic I've ever seen. Yeah.
All right, we got to take another break, and we'll be right back, Chris.
Hi, I'm Steve Rinaldo, host of the Classic Car Show on America's Web Radio, talking to you about antique car insurance. In this hobby that I've been part of for years, not all insurance companies and insurance coverage is the same. I would suggest that you call J.C. Taylor or visit jctaylor.com to find out some information about some of the best antique car insurance you can get, such as agreed value insurance for your classic car. Again, when you get ready to insure your classic, antique, or even your street rod, call J.C. Taylor Insurance or visit jctaylor.com.
Your auto love and investment demands the best, and for 45 years, Passport Transport has been meeting those demands. From manufacturers to the one-car collectors and all other facets of the auto industry and antique auto hobby. The first and the finest with unequaled service and peace of mind. Passport Transport, your auto transportation company. Contact PassportTransport.com with your need today. Passport Transport.
Whether cruising the strip in a 57 Chevy or taking the family on a vacation in a 71 Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser, you need to tune in to Classic Cars with Steve Rinaldo and Jim Weber every Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. on americaswebradio.com.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the americasbroadcastnetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And welcome back to the Classic Car Show on America's Web Radio. We have Chris Ritter from AACA Library on today. And Chris, I guess I take the practical or just curious approach to a lot of things. And the things that you've been mentioning, the film, the obviously magazines, obviously books, what kind of, can they all live under one atmospheric control, or do you have to have different sections and different atmospheres for each one?
Well, you can store everything in one temperature setting. The colder is always better, especially with multimedia material. We had originally wanted to put a sort of a deep freeze room in for all of our film and film strip and multimedia material. However, that just wasn't in the cards budget-wise, so it'll still be still be preserved and housed in a very, very suitable climate controlled facility, but we won't have the deep freeze facility at our fingertips.
And I would think that someone giving you a collection or wanting to donate or whatever would be, it's been their baby for X number of years, and they want to know. And generally speaking, I would say your facility would be a whole lot better than my house.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we keep things at 68 degrees, a constant humidity, so there's no fluctuations, there's no direct exposure to sunlight, humidity swings. So many times we hear of and receive material that's been stored in somebody's basement or attic where the temperature swings are just unbelievably extreme and really harm paper that was, when a lot of this paper was printed, there was no expectation that it would be around even 10 years after it was printed. So it wasn't necessarily produced on fine acid-free paper of archival quality. So yeah, really maintaining it at a constant temperature with no UV exposure is the key.
Sure. Is the library interested in automobilia kind of stuff, like signs or other things that are related to the industry throughout the years? Are you guys?
Absolutely, because all that 3D material, as I like to call it, that's all stuff that can tell a story, and we can track it back to literature to support it. And an example is our collection of Fisher Body Craftsman Guild models. In fact, I'm going to Raleigh in early January to pick up 5 more models. So
wow.
Close to 30 models in our collection, but in our display area, we do have all of those models on the shelves, but then we support it with photos, programs, looking at certificates and signs. So, just like any museum would, you tell the full story, but we always like to bring it back to the literature and the paperwork that supports it.
Well, what about antiques? We're thinking about having Steve stuffed. Would you want to stick him up in a corner somewhere?
Yeah, we can turn him into a trophy of some sort.
Yeah.
Oh, no. God help the guy that wins it.
God, the national award meeting will go on for 2 days.
Going back to the Fisher Body Craftsman Guild, do you have any of their presentations that they used to come around in the late 50s and early 60s to high schools and do presentations?
Yeah, I remember that. Now that you mention it. Yeah,
to recruit people to make models. Do you have any of that information or material?
We don't. I would love if there was, a presenter's handbook or some kind of presenter's guide. That does not. There's none of that in our collection, but there's certainly a lot of letters, supporting newsletters. Like I said, the one cool story was this was from 1933 when they still had to build the carriage, the Fisher Body coach, instead of designing their own car.
Right.
The young man was out in Detroit for the national competition, and he wrote his mom about all of his experience, and he was talking about how nervous he was, but then he was also talking about how he's going to modify his coach for next year's competition. So it's really cool to not only see the coach, but put yourself in the position of that high school kid who probably was never out of his town. Now all of a sudden he's in Detroit at this major national exposition, and it's just really cool.
That's a great story. That's cool.
And think about it that way.
Yeah. Chris, we just did 2 shows last week and week before last on tools. Do you all have any a section or anything like that on tools that people would use for doing anything?
Yes, we do. That's part of our flat file collection, where we have dozens and dozens of aftermarket tool suppliers. And then if there were specific tools that were marketed or sold directly to, say, a Packard mechanic, we'd have that literature housed within the manufacturer literature. So yeah, absolutely, that's a big part of the hobby.
That see, again, I never knew that stuff, you had that kind of stuff. I always thought it was just car information.
Yeah, well, when you're in, or you or anybody else is in town, we'll be happy to give them a very detailed in-person tour if anybody can make it into Hershey.
Yeah,
General Motors, I don't know what's left of the archives that they have up there, but I've got to believe that somewhere there's got to be the Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild information. I'm just wondering how you'd access something like that.
Yeah, it's probably part of the GM Heritage Center.
Yeah.
And for a while, the Heritage Center was closed. I believe that they are back in operating at least at limited hours, but I haven't made contact with them in years. So now that it's fresh in my mind, it might be the right time to do so again.
I've used them for 37 after I've called you guys, and I've used them for 37 Cadillac information.
Oh, okay.
They have some of their old factory, especially the you can get the shop manual, but you can never find the supplements when they change stuff and made.
And the service bullet.
Yeah, service, you can't find them. Those are impossible to find.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely good information.
Yeah.
I should also mention that later this year, there's only a couple more weeks left, but I'm going to be picking up the Tom Barrett from Barrett Jackson, his personal photo archive.
Wow.
That was just donated to us, and we're excited to get that back in Hershey and processed. So that'll be thousands of photographs of many of the cars that crossed the auction block when Tom was still alive and part of the auction firm.
What years would that be from?
I believe it's 60s up through the early 90s.
So there'll be some pre-war stuff in there.
Oh, yeah. The years of the auctions would have been 60s to early 90s, but as far as the cars themselves, that would be absolutely pre-war.
All right, so
whatever Barrett Jackson sold at that time, there's probably a photo of the car.
Have you one of Steve's favorite TV shows?
Yeah. Do you have
time can pass while you're watching that for sure?
Yeah. Do you have any access to the Nethercutt Library and their collection?
We don't. As far as a formal relationship, no, we don't. It's certainly a collection that I want to go visit in person.
Oh, yeah.
Not only to see the library, but the museum and
the restoration shop and everything. Yeah, it's just incredible. Yeah. And I think probably when you're out there, you ought to go to the Mullen Museum too and see that. What is basically the oldest stuff you have? Like, are you 1894 or are you earlier than that, 1790, or what wheel
The oldest
stuff?
piece that we have in our collection is called The Hub, and that was a magazine for carriage builders, and it's from the 1860s.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Weber still has the first copy that he got.
Yeah. I was one of the original subscribers.
Well, good. We'll take those back issues.
Yeah, the Pony Express used to deliver to his house.
Yeah.
I want to tell you one thing, though, that I really was impressed with, and I know it was cost more than it was supposed to. The bookmobile is really cool, and the way you guys have it set up and what you were doing at Hershey with the continual loop running of what the new building is going to look like. I think the bookmobile was a smart move on your guys' part, even though it was a little more expensive than thought. But I think that's a good deal that you guys have.
Yeah, we wanted to be an ambassador for the old car hobby, and it really is doing just that. Right now, our 55 Chevy bookmobile is housed for the winter at the Virginia, in Roanoke. There's the Virginia Transportation Museum.
Yes.
And they have it for probably until late March. But there's cars there. They have some aviation material. They have a lot of trains, locomotives there as well. So
they
it's
do,
a chance to expose the bookmobile to people who aren't familiar with AACA. But this year we were able to take it to several car shows and events and just spread the word about the importance of preservation and maintaining vehicles.
Yeah, and the official Tom Cox eyeglass collection.
Yeah, he's part of that. He was there the day I dropped it off. It's a cool building.
Well, you drove it?
I trailered it down and then I drove it into the building. It would be a long way to go at 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Yeah,
because that is done all original, if I remember rightly.
That's correct. Yeah, so it has the original six-cylinder engine and 3-speed transmission. It drives like a 3/4 ton truck.
It's cool though. It's a great thing for the museum.
Yeah, especially with a load of books.
Library.
A 0 to 60 is what, a half a day?
Yeah.
And that's downhill.
If you're lucky, it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my. Well, what else have you got to tell us real quick before we wrap up?
I just want to stress again that the AACA library is not just for AACA members. Anybody in the general public can contact us. We are open Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And our website's aacalibrary.org. On there, you'll get a link to our catalog. You'll find our exact address, phone number, email address. A lot of the stories that we run in Antique Automobile are there with extra links to literature. So reach out to us whatever way is best, and we're more than happy to help, and we're passionate about it. So
yes, you guys
the more
are.
research requests,
Chris,
the better.
I want to. This is David. I want to thank you for being on the show today, and for the job that you do. It's just incredible, and how much we appreciate you, and look forward to having you back on again real soon. And keep updating us. And as we can help you, just all you have to do is give me a holler, and we'll be glad to put the information on, or have you on, or we'll have the big man on.
Okay. Well, thank you again for giving us a voice, and we always have a good time when we're able to be on the show. So thank you to everybody, and again, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I talked to Steve earlier, and he seems to be doing better.
Yeah, he's on the mend. He's a tough guy.
I was just thinking, this will be archived and up on, well, it'll be on Facebook immediately, but then it'll be archived and available on our website Monday. And I got to say, we've been doing this show, Steve and I have been doing this show for a long time, and Jim's been with us longer than he'd like probably, but anyway, he's been here a long time. And I don't want to say I ever judge shows, but I think this has been one of the most informative shows, covering, just like Steve said, my gosh, you couldn't find an old person that's been more involved than Steve Rinaldo, and for him to find out something new is incredible. And
yeah, well, good. Glad we were able to inform.
Yeah, I think this has been a great show. Thank you very much for being on.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.